Hi everybody, Adam Steele from Hot Pole Studios here, and today we're going to be playing you a full interview that I recently did with Guillaume Pille from Two Notes Audio Engineering. I am no stranger to Two Notes. Some of you may be aware that the Two Notes, the Captor and the Wall of Sound plugin and all the hardware runs these custom cabinets that you can buy, many of which have been captured by me. I have a long working relationship with those guys, but I wanted to do this interview specifically to get something for the Revv Generator 120 Mark III video that I've been working on. And as it happened, we ended up talking for the best part of an hour. So we really covered a lot of ground, and I wanted to share that with you today. So here we are, let's run the interview. All right, I'm here with Dr. Guillaume Pille, the CEO of Two Notes Audio Engineering and the man behind the latest rave success, the Captor X, and also a part of the new raving success, the Revv Generator 120 Mark III and the 100 Mark IIIs, of course. So, congratulations on the massive success.
Yeah, thank you, Adam.
It's gone so incredibly well. This time last year, I saw the very first Captor X units at NAMM, and nobody was sure if it was going to go crazy, and it really did, didn't it?
Yeah, it was an interesting adventure. Usually when we start a product like that, for every Two Notes product, and I guess it's the same for any manufacturer, you bet on how many you will sell. And we're not a huge company that we can do focus group and we can do stuff like that. So we get data in advance. To give you an idea about the numbers, we typically start with a batch of 3,000 units. So that's what even maybe 2,000, I don't remember. And beginning of the year was a bit complicated because with the Chinese lockdown, and then we had lockdowns in France and then everywhere. We were supposed to get them in March, then April, then May, and we finally got them end of June. So it put a lot of pressure on the team, on the structure, because, well, the sales have not been great on the first semester. Yeah. And suddenly the Captor X, so we started getting orders because we figured out pretty early that people were stuck at home playing guitar. We saw that with Wall of Sound. We could see that because we can monitor how many people are using Wall of Sound. And we saw the usage of the plugin just go through the roof, and we fed that by giving away cabinets and monitoring that, and we got more and more requests on the help desk. So we saw something was happening, and when we finally get the first batch, maybe 2,000 or 3,000, it was sold out even before we started shipping, which is it's not unusual that we have the first batch sold out. But even with the first batch sold out, it wasn't enough. So we immediately asked for another 3,000. That was sold out before the end of August as well. And we ended up the year in December manufacturing the 10,000 unit in December, which is a big number for us. We're still a very, very small company. So suddenly we have that hit product that a lot of people like, a lot of people use. We got great reviews from the press. And I also was surprised because, I knew it was a good product, but it's not, a Torpedo Studio is still, in my opinion, a better product in terms of audio quality, but it's like 3 times the price. Right. So I think with the Captor X, we just put a few functions that people missed, and especially we changed, and that's the major change, and that's something you will see on future product and the new Wall of Sound that will be released hopefully soon. Let's say first quarter. Knock on wood. Rather than trying to create a product that really is sounding like a recording, which for many guitarists or bassists is too raw, right? They don't know what to do with that. We actually worked on creating a very enjoyable experience when you play with headphones or when you play at home. So we added a few functions, such as the twin tracker, such as the enhancer, and changes a little bit the ergonomics of the product. So actually someone who's not a sound engineer can get a great tone with headphones just to use it as a little bit expensive headphones output for their amp. And that's actually what the people needed. And the problem we had is that most of my contacts are sound engineers or professionals. So they know what to do with a raw tape. They know how to process it to go into recording or to play live. Guitarists don't know. There's still a lot of teaching to do to bring them there. And you know what? I'm not even sure they want to know. They just want the finished product. They want to have something that inspires them to play more, to create more music, or just play at 10 p.m. with their guitars and without troubling the family. And I think that's the major change at Two Notes, where we now focus on, you can still get the raw sound, right? You can still get it. You just have to bypass this stuff. That's very easy. Mm-hmm. But for let's say the average guitarist or bassist, you just have to plug in and have fun. And I think that's what we missed previously, where I would really design studio units a little bit dry, a little bit too dry, a little bit too like a tool, like a screwdriver. Yeah. And suddenly we don't design a screwdriver. We try to design something that makes you want to fix stuff in the house.
Right.
So that's a major change. And I think we would keep going that way because that's where the market is. Of course, we did not invent that. I mean, if you look at the let's say the amp mother market, there are so many good products out there. You always ask yourself, why do they put so many effects on the presets? Why does it sound so processed? Because as a professional, usually you don't want that.
Yes.
Except the people who actually buy the thousands are not sound engineers. They just want to have fun. They just want to play something where there is 10 seconds of reverb and suddenly they feel like they are on stage or in a cathedral or just having fun. And the key word here is fun. We want to make products that are more fun to play with. And I think the Captor X was that, at least the first good step in that direction.
Absolutely. I think there's been a lot of big successes there in terms of making things that are just, like you say, fun. Even as a trained engineer, sometimes I just want to plug into something and go, that sounds great, let's go. So yeah, I mean, it presents the hardware in a different way as well, I think, because then when you get it into a recording situation with a technical guy like me, I can look at it and go, turn this off, turn that off, turn this off, and then do it later. But sometimes, actually, I've found that even in my home studio here, I've got a couple of 100-watt amps, and I'll be reamping on a mixing stream, and I look at all these settings and the reverb and everything, and I leave it, and it sounds great.
Well, I mean, why break something that works, right? And that's the thing. It took me some time to realize that because, that's not my background. I'm like, I love old school analog preamps, amps, stuff that do one thing, one thing. If I buy a preamp, I don't care if there is a compressor in it. If I want a compressor, I have compressors. So that all-in-one thing is a little bit new for me. That's why it took me time to actually understand that or realize that, yes, that's probably the way we need to go. And let's just keep in mind who are our customers and what they actually need. And yes, even as a trained engineer, even myself at home, I'm not an amazing guitar player. I just enjoy myself. I have the luxury to have plenty of amps, plenty of guitars that I never play. But when I get to play, I just want to plug that with headphones because probably it's late and just play music, not fix stuff, because I don't do a lot of recording. I don't have a band anymore, so I don't have to create new music. Really, I just want to have fun, play a few chords, try another guitar, and I think for that purpose, I think it's the right product.
Yeah, it's perfect for that. I don't know if you kind of think the way that I do about this, but sometimes, like, because I do engineering and I'm a musician, sometimes I want to sit down and I want to look for a sound. and I'll spend half an hour with the unit playing around. But other times I want to sit down and play. And I don't want to do any of that, but I find it difficult to do them both at the same time. Do you find something like that?
Yeah, it's nearly impossible. Just the fact that you need to leave the guitar to turn stuff, then back. And I guess the phone apps helps a little because you can. Well, I'm right-handed. I don't know, but I would usually leave my left hand because I have the pick on the right one. I don't want to be on the table, so I want to use my left hand, and it's possible on the phone. I can't grab my mouse with my left hand. I'm useless. So I just want to either reach out to the unit itself and change a little bit of something from the front, and you have just limited set of control for that purpose.
Yeah.
And then if I just need to do a little bit more, I would just change presets. Either because we worked on the keyboard on the keys. So for example, you can change cabinets and stuff without using the mouse, which we didn't have previously. It's been a project forever to have like proper shortcuts so you can actually change the key stuff easily. And the key stuff is usually changing the cabinet, changing the mic to listen to without changing anything else. How does that cabinet sound in the same situation? And that's my lockdown work. In March, we worked on the new Cabin Plus update.
Yes.
And that's when I finally, because I was home, I didn't have to drive to the office. I don't have someone who knocks at my door every 10 minutes. So suddenly I'm at home in silence, and I can actually work with the stuff and figure out, all right, other user, what is this thing missing? And yeah, I'm actually very happy with the new Cabin Plus update. And again, I finally took a little bit of time to work on the usability. Can I say that? How easy it is to actually get to the point where you're happy with your tone. And again, it's way more complicated than strapping together very good converters, very good preamps. I mean, put that in the box is quite easy, but making them usable for the average guitarist, and I'm the average guitarist, I mean, making that usable and fast, it's a real challenge. That's actually the most fascinating thing about my job. That's the part I like. There are many parts I don't. This one I like.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about the Cab M, actually the new firmware, was that I was part of that development, and so were a lot of other people. We had a small group where we would give feedback and we would try it. And I think that's a really important thing to develop a great product, is have people who use it and say, well, what do you think? What's missing? What? And not just because I find that a lot of big companies, they just stay a secret and make a big product and go, this is how you will use this. But I think it was really good to be inclusive. What was your experience of that? Was that your idea? And
so it was my idea. That's not the first time we do that, but that's the first time in a long time where I can be personally involved in that. And you probably saw me like talking to people, and I did. And it actually helps me understand what's the need, or sometimes even better, what's the actual need behind the request. Because some people request stuff because they either they don't understand how the product works, or they miss something, and suddenly it makes me understand that, oh, they don't understand that. That's why they request this. So I should probably fix this one so they get the other one. And it was exhausting, to be honest, because it was like 12, 14 hours a day monitoring stuff, trying to answer in real time while I was trying to actually play, work on the algorithm and everything. But it was awesome. But it was a month or maybe a bit more than that. It was just, my team was exhausted at the end because they were on the receiving end of that. So I'm like, I can work a lot, right? It doesn't bother me.
Right.
But my team had to run coding stuff because I don't do any of the coding anymore, like forever nearly. So they had to. I was like, okay, this is what we need. This is how we need to do it, and this is how you should do it to make that work. And then they have to implement that and push an update. And we forget something else. And I mean, it may have looked like a bit of a mess, but we had a plan and we had everything. And yeah, it was really awesome. Also, it was a great time of bonding in my team, because we added more people, especially we had a new marketing director, Jason, in the UK. We had a new director in the US, Justin. And it was a great opportunity for me to build that team around that project. And all of those guys they have great ears and they have an amazing experience with guitar products. So it was great I love to be challenged. I have no problem with that. So they would challenge my decision all the time, up to a point where someone I had to say, okay, enough, that's what we do. Or, they are probably right. Maybe I'm wrong. And yeah, so it's either the people, my own team. I really enjoyed that. I finished and actually the end of that was the release of the Cabin Plus, and right after we had the Captor X tide that just swallowed us, and it was not quiet, but it was great. No. And we would do the same. Like we started doing it with Wall of Sound. So we have our little group, and right now I'm not there too much because I'm working on the first draft of the new Wall of Sound, and of course I've listened to people, but I will come up with some new stuff that people apparently didn't realize. So I guess some surprises will be nice. And when we have the first beta version, we go back to that, and the fact that I don't have to travel, no trade shows. Because I usually travel, let's say, in total 2 to 3 months a year out of the office. So suddenly have like 2 to 3 months that I can actually work on that here, and it's awesome. It's really, really good. So yeah, let's stay tuned, people, because the Wall of Sound beta test will be, I think, pretty fun.
Fantastic. I mean, that's the kind of thing, where these being able to communicate with a company like this. I mean, Two Notes is still quite a small company, but even being able to talk to you personally and say, like, this isn't right from the perspective of here's a reason. That's just, you don't see that in every company. I think there should be more of it. Some of the more successful up and coming companies, like another one, Slate Digital. Stephen Slate's in everything. He sees what goes on, and I'm sure he passes that on to his team, and they've had the biggest success, and now you have as well. It very much goes hand in hand, I think. I mean, other companies should do more, right?
I mean, today, and that's how I started my company. When I started in 2008, we started in forums, for example. Forums are not really a thing anymore, but we started on forums, and that's a process that we've been having. I guess it comes from the fact that I don't think I know everything, and I don't think I can guess everything. And the thing is, we have ways to actually ask the people about what they would want. Why not ask them what they want? I want them to like the product. Of course, among those requests, some of them are not realistic for technical reason or price reason, and maybe another company will take up on that and do that themselves. But I don't think it's a product for us or a function for us. But I think it's an amazing option. It's an amazing opportunity to be able to talk to your customers or potential customers, even if, of course, you need to set aside some ridiculous request, and every day we have one. But it's fine. Like I said, there is no stupid question. I mean, the only stupid question is the one you don't dare to ask. So that's why I always try to be nice to people who ask stuff that are, let's say, hard to make or not realistically possible. Because first of all, they are not experts. That's my job to know what's possible and what's not. And second of all, sometimes, like, if they did not understand that the product can do already what they request, I will always take the side that I did something wrong by not explaining properly that they can actually do it. So that's the message I will pass on to my teams. I will tell them, okay, the manual needs to be fixed there. The help desk, you need to add a chapter about doing this because apparently the manual is not clear enough, or people didn't find it or didn't read it because nobody wants to. So how can we better communicate on that? To me, if someone didn't understand what the product can do, it's my fault. It's not the customer's fault. And to be honest, the customers feel the same. If they can't use a product, it's always the product's fault. So we'd better get on with that. It's not going to change, especially as most products nowadays have some kind of processor or stuff like that that will actually guide you and help you without the help of a manual. Like, who read the manual of their smartphone? Is there a manual? I don't even know.
It's a very good point. I mean, thinking about it, my phone that I have here, the operating system's changed several times since I got it. You use it completely differently than when I bought it. The manual would be wrong. That's I mean, the Carb M compared to the Carb M Plus, the new firmware, it's completely different, right?
Yeah.
Same hardware. You buy it from the same store for the same price, and now it works differently.
Yeah, and so we did update the manual once the new set of functions were working and ready. But still, the manual is one thing. But to me, the best product is the product that tells you how to use it. That's the best kind of product. Like, when you open a phone and a phone, when you're using a phone, it will actually tell you how to use itself. It will tell you where the buttons are. I mean, all the apps you have in the phone will tell you how to use it. And even if the phone does have a manual, but it's hidden somewhere and most people won't even bother. So I'm happy when actually the layout of the product tells you enough that you actually don't need to read something else. So either because we write stuff on it or under it, or we have just a short 2-page quick start guide, or you have a bunch of videos that will, because apparently people prefer watching video than, I actually prefer reading a manual because videos are just taking too much time for me. But and a manual, I can just go to the page I'm interested in. While in the video, I just don't know where it is. And but that's how people want to use this stuff. So I don't even think that on the app, the phone app, we give the products with the products. I don't think we even have a manual. You have a few explanations when you start it first, telling you, okay, you can do this, that, there. Next, that's it. And that's the best. We have very little support on the phone app because people figure it out.
Yeah, I'd say a little story about the phone app. That recently I installed a Carb M and a Captor X in John Brown from Monument Studio. Actually, right now they're my Carb M and Captor X, but that's a different story.
Oh, John has my phone number.
I mean, that's all being sorted out. It's no problem. But I said to him, hey, try these. And so we loaded up the Bluetooth, and it walks you through how to connect with the serial number, the safety, and all that kind of stuff. It tells you how to do it. And so then I loaded up a couple of my own cabs. Shameless plug. I do all the Hot Pole Studios cabs. And because the Bluetooth in that, I got John to play through one of his favorite amps, and I walked around the room listening at different places to how it sounded and changed the microphones, changed the cabinets, but not from next to the amp and next to the Captor X. I could stand right in the middle of where the speakers were, even though the amps were way off to the side. And that was great because it meant I didn't have to be stuck in one place, and we didn't have to run a USB cable right around the studio. So, it does have some really good uses, the phone app. Yes.
Well, and again, that's it comes from my background, but I always consider them useless. because I always have a computer. When I play guitar, usually I will record a little bit of something or use a plugin to do this or that. So I have my keyboards, my mouse, but actually it's only after, because it was a popular request. It's only after I actually used it when we were doing tests and finishing the stuff that I realized that, that's practical. Actually, it's possible to use it. So I think it tells you something about the fact that as a designer, I can be wrong. Actually, I'm wrong many, many times. But I just need to stay conscious that I'm wrong and that I need to listen to other people and put me in the situation of someone else who doesn't have my background and will just prefer, like you said, like move around the house, or just if the product you're editing is on the ground, you probably don't want to go on the ground to turn the knobs and the app just fixes it and it works great.
I use it. Yeah, I use it a lot. I mean, the setup I have right here, I can plug a USB cable in, no problem. But some of the setups I'm in, that is difficult. And just having that extra option is really great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think, well, that's something we will have standard not only on the Torpedo products, but also on the partner product we design with other brands. And I know you wanted to talk about that.
Yes, so that's the next thing to come on to is well, we'll specifically talk about the partnership with Revv first, because I believe they were the first company that you partnered with to put Two Notes products inside of somebody else's product. So I'm guessing you've been long-term friends with the guys at Revv. How did that all come about? Was it over drinks or was it NAM or both?
Oh, there were probably drinks involved at some point, and food and plenty of both. No, actually, what happened is that my A&R guy was Fluff, Ryan Bruce, years ago. And Fluff was just too busy with his many projects. And he actually requested his good friend Derek at Revv if Derek would want to work with us on the artist relation side of it. And I absolutely wanted something on the North America time zone. And we met probably at NAM, I think. And yeah, I mean, I think we have similar profiles with Derek, so we work quite well together. And Revv was just, well, Two Notes is a little bit an older company. So Revv was just, I think they just released the big amps and they weren't yet ready to work on pedals even. So at that point, they only had the big generator amps and maybe the Dynamis. And,
the 740.
Yes. And so Derek started working with us as A&R, and after some time, we decided to create a US entity to work on distribution for the Two Notes product, and Derek became the director of that entity. But it was at that same time that actually Revv released the pedals, and suddenly they had thousands and thousands of orders, and they had the tiniest structure who couldn't handle that. So Derek became distracted, and he had probably too many things to focus on. So and he's a good friend, and he did the best he could do, but he was just too busy doing too many things. Right. So also the Two Notes business with the original Captor and then Cab-Am was growing very fast in the US as well, in North America as well. So suddenly it became $1 million thing to move around. It was just too much work. Right. So we decided that Derek needed to focus on the Revv stuff, and he has another business as well. And we needed to have someone really full time. That's Justin. Okay. So with the project, I have to be honest with you, I've been in contact with many amp companies, and I said no to Revv. I said no. Oh. Yeah, I said you're too small. You're too small. I'm trying to, because for the project to be worth it, needed to be like thousands of units a year to make it worth the time and money I would put into partnering on a product. Okay. And we already did it with Augent on the Sonos on card.
Yes.
And for the amp stuff, I was talking to many other brands, one being Mesa Boogie. I think it's not a secret anymore. So they embed part of the technology into their amps now. But I said always no to Derek, always. Saying, no, that's too small. And the thing, what happens is that after 2 or 3 years trying to work things out with big companies, and nothing was moving, nothing, like all talking, no action. And at some point I said I can't remember when exactly, but we decided with Derek, said, okay, let's do your stuff and let's use Revv as a demonstrator for the technology. Right. And that's when they released the D20 and then the G20 after that, and they sold a ton of them for a small brand. So we knew that it was a good idea. I mean, all the big companies were actually asking me to prove they needed to do that. I was like, okay, guys, your sales are plunging.
Yeah.
All your customers are using Helix and Fractals and Campers, and you keep complaining. I'm actually giving you a bridge between the awesome analog tone you can do and the practicality that people actually need on stage, on tours, even at home. Like there is no analog headphones out on a tube amp that's even half decent. I hate them. Like really hate them.
Oh yeah, those filter DQ things, they're horrible.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever put a microphone in front of an amp, and I mean, it's just
it doesn't sound anything like it. Yeah.
No, it just sounds wrong. And it's practical, yes, and it's cheap for an amp designer to put that kind of function in the amp, while my stuff is very expensive by an order of magnitude. It's really, really expensive. So, but they wanted me to prove again and again that it was a good idea to do that. I got tired. So we decided, okay, let's use a small brand. And Revv at that point was actually becoming not so small because the pedals, the G series, were selling very, very, very well. And I'm very happy for them for that because those pedals are awesome. So Revv wasn't was beginning to be not so small. And yes, we proved to the market that, yes, a high-end tube amp with a digital out, with proper headphones out, proper line out, that sounds like a recording. Yes, people like that. So yeah, I guess we will see more product this year using our technology, new brands. I can't talk about it until they actually make it public, but I really hope we will have at least one very soon and some others later, because I strongly believe that the tube amp market needs to stay relevant. Yes. Because they are in danger. Maybe they don't realize it, but I think they are. And one way to stay relevant, it's to become practical.
Absolutely.
And we help with that, I think.
It's really interesting. Just to stick with Revv for a minute, and then we'll talk about the other brands as much as we can. So the new Generator 120 Mark III, this is, I think, the first time you've pretty much wholesale just put a product you have straight in to an amp. Is that right? Because the D20 and the G20, only 20 watt amps, the load on them wouldn't need to be quite so serious, shall we say? So this is a slightly different thing, I think.
Not really. The load box part of it is Revv's design.
Okay.
So they took whatever they wanted from us, and we allowed them to use the load box design we use. But that's their stuff. And in terms of digital processing, actually the D and G20 use the same as Cab-M, not Cab-M Plus, but it's exactly the same as Cab-M. And the big amps, the Pro series, so G120, the 100P, they use something that's closer to the Captor X. It's not strictly identical. There are actually two major differences. One is in the G20, I think you can, but it's there. It's in there. You can actually use a modeled power amp. Which is not in the Captor X. So it's the same power amp you have in the Cab-M, except you just have one setting, so you can't change it. And we try to match the power amp in the G120 in terms of tone.
Okay.
And the other thing is, because the DSP we have in Captor X is really, really stronger than the one we put in the amps, you can't have 200 milliseconds IRs. I think it's limited to 40 or maybe 100, something like that. So you don't have as much CPU power. But to be perfectly honest, you would have a hard time hearing it. But it's there. The Captor X can go a little bit further.
Well, the trade-off there, I suppose, is that the shorter IRs also have lower latency. So
yes, correct.
There's always a positive point as a trade-off, right?
No, absolutely. And you know what? Even at 40 milliseconds, you have most of the message from the cabinet. Like most of it. It's only in the very, very, very low end that you can sometimes hear differences if you have monitors or headphones able to go that low. And if you know exactly what you hear, and that's just before you put that very famous low cut filter, because when you mix a guitar, you probably will have to get rid of the low end.
It's so true.
Yeah, but when you play at home with headphones, it's great to have a very nice low end. There is no lack of low end. It's actually it's a very complicated thing to talk about the low end depending on the IR length. It's not. Yeah, it's not that you don't have it. It's just it's less precise, less detailed. But again, we talk about 20 hertz. I mean, we talk about the limit of the human hearing and your monitors. I have NS10s here. I can tell you right away, I can't hear the difference on NS10s. I need to use where are my headphones? I have studio headphones, and yes, I can hear with that. We have a sub bass from Dynaudio with some big monitors. Yes. But we talk about stuff that most home studio can only dream of.
Yeah. Oh yeah, my system with 2 subs and that kind of thing, it makes a little difference. But then, like you say, when you're recording like what I do, we take out all the low end anyway. So it's yep, sounds good. Remove it.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's more for the guitarist, more for the guy who plays with it, because low end is always nice when you play. And when you mix, thump. You need to make many people happy. For example, the drummer with a bass drum, or the lower tom, and the bassist, who probably will want to be in the mix. So, so yeah, you need to make in the low end, especially because it's mainly mono, right? I mean, but you need to make a lot of people happy, and the guitar has to go.
Yeah, of course. So, last question then. As of the release of this video, the Ashdown cabinets will have been announced on the Two Notes store.
Okay.
So yeah, that's something I've been involved in. Of course, I was involved with the Victory cabinets as well, and it's really good to see that since the success with Revv, the other companies, well, I say the other companies, some other companies that I know of have now obviously talked to you and said, right, we're convinced, let's do this. Have you found that that's been a big explosion, that Revv really was kind of the key, and now everybody, as the companies are looking at that, saying, we should do this?
I wouldn't say it's the key, but that was another, I mean, in the mix, if you put together the fact that customers were requiring that. And I remember vividly when UZ Kettner released, there is a very cute new series of amp. I can't remember the name, but they did awesome marketing.
The Black Spirit, the Nano?
Yeah, the Spirit. So the Black Spirit, and I mean, I remember the marketing was great. And all the comments, because I watch what other brands are doing, and many of the comments were there, okay, what type of IR can I load in there? Because they were saying there was a speaker simulator in there. And I guess the community manager had a very bad day answering, okay, you can't put IR in there. And people were like, set face. So that was, okay, the customer request. And on the other side, the fact that we now have successful products are there using the technology, sound cards, amps, and of course, we will see more amps using not necessarily the Two Notes technology, but other IR loaders, simple IR loaders, like Mr. Boogie is using, for example. We do the hardware, but we have different software for them. So they realize that people actually like that. So again, not the key, but just maybe the extra drop in the bucket that would make them say, okay, we need to give it a try. And I can't say who we work with in terms of hardware, but you can see that many brands created virtual cabinets recently. And you've been involved with Ashdown, Victory, we had Orange, Vox. I mean, many brands are actually looking at that as a way to make a bit of money. So, of course, but also because they want to see if people actually use the virtual version of their stuff. And I think Victory was, we were actually surprised how fast they sold. I mean, those virtual cabinets, it was the same with Mr. Boogie. As soon as we had them on sale, boom. And for those brands, it's significant. We don't talk millions of dollars, right? It's still a very niche. It's a niche part of a very small industry. So we don't talk millions, but still for them, it was significant. Yeah. And I think that helps them with the decision. And of course, you have other companies that will simply tell me, no, we are a vintage-oriented company, there's no way we can put digital in our stuff, even if they have digital reverb. But that's
yeah, of course.
But they want to communicate as being old school. Like I don't really see my stuff, even if I know those guys, I wouldn't see my stuff in a Supro amp or in a Magnetone, or even those are great brands, but that's not I guess the lawyer who buys a Supro probably doesn't care or probably doesn't want any digital stuff in this. If you tell them they can have awesome headphones out and not bother with anything else, changing IR, moving the mic, just 6 good presets.
Yeah.
Maybe, and that's what we saw with the Captor X, where non-experts actually bought them. But still, those brands, like you need to remember the amazing idea that Gibson tried to push with the Tronical tuner, you know, the robot tuner.
Yeah.
And
it's too soon.
I mean, everybody, when they said they were putting that on the whole range of Gibson guitar, I mean, you need to remember the outrage and how people just destroyed them. And even myself was like, oh, no, just put that on a couple prototypes just to say you have the technology. But just don't put that in the entire range. And they did for a few months or maybe a year. And then they had to revert back to the heritage stuff.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we will not convince everybody. I think it's a good fit for modern amps, or at least forward-thinking companies, not the companies who do replicas of what they've been doing for 50 years.
Yeah.
Even if I love them, I mean, again, I'm not judging them. I'm just saying it's not a good fit.
Yeah, of course.
People want to use a vintage Marshall, either a reissue or an old one, can always buy a Captor X.
Of course.
That doesn't bother me that we may not work with Marshall. I mean, they have my number. If they want to, they can call me.
So yeah, any other major amp companies? Get Guillaume's number, give him a call.
Yes.
I mean, you say about the robot tuners, I think that's a very good point. But just to make another point for the viewers, those robot tuners, when you were using them, you couldn't not use them, if you know what I mean. You had to use it. Whereas I think this could be possibly a positive thing if for some magical reason the 2 Notes hardware was in every amp tomorrow. You don't have to use it.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Well, I think that's a big positive difference, that it's not going to get in the way if you don't want it.
Exactly. And I think that's what will happen in the next few years, where we will be able to make the technology cheap enough so it will fit on a small chip, and that's it, with everything in it. The same way you have digital reverbs with everything in it, converters, everything. I think the speaker simulator, the digital speaker simulator function someday, and if the tube amp market is still alive, someday it will become a $10 chip or a $7 chip that you can just put in every amp, and that's it, and forget about it. You can, maybe not with USB or Bluetooth or all the bells and whistles, just the basic headphones out, 6 preset, good to go. And same as use a Kettner. I hope people understand I was not making fun of using Kettner earlier, because I really love that brand. The red box was a great idea. They put that in every amp for 20, 30 years.
That was revolutionary when it first came out. I remember.
Yes, exactly. And I remember how they would just write it big at the back of every amp that they had the red box. You could only have it on the big amps. And that's actually what gave me the idea to offer my solution for amplifier. I was like, I think amp manufacturer can market the fact that they have a solution to go direct, either with headphones or line out into a mixer or into a recorder without the use of anything else. And actually, they gave me that idea. and maybe one day we work with using a Kettner. Who knows?
Who knows? Final point. So the 2 Notes brand has a really good kind of glowing reputation now, I think, in the industry. And I think it's only going to be a good thing to see the Two Notes logo on the back of other amps. It's almost going to be a seal of quality, if you will. And I think that can only be a good thing for both companies in each instance.
That's mainly why we first of all, we only work with distant volume and with mainly boutique companies or companies that have the same way that we have of designing product that last, that are good quality, good tone, that can be fixed. I mean, I don't create disposable products, right? So the company we work with have to have the same way of thinking, and I mean, no, I won't name names, but there are companies I wouldn't imagine working with because first of all, we will always be very expensive for them, and second of all, I just don't want to. So I only want to see my technology in amps that I like to play, and I like amps. I have many, and I can't have enough. Apparently, I have to compensate for something, and I'd love to see the Two Notes branding at the back of as many amps as possible, providing they are great amps.
Of course, and that's probably a great place to finish the interview. So Guillaume, thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure as always.
Thank you, Adam. And I will probably pop into the comment section. So if people have questions for me, they shouldn't hesitate. I always try to take a bit of time to see what's going on. So even technical question, go crazy, right? I like that. So if it's not me, it's one of my guys. They are all very, 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 very good. But yes, I try to stop by.
Fantastic. I'll see you in the comments. Nice one.
Thanks, Adam.
Hope you found that useful. I very much enjoyed it, and so I hope you did as well. Hit the like button and subscribe and all the rest of the stuff if you haven't already. It's very much appreciated. And tell your friends, watch the Revv video. Watch the video with Dan, the main guy from Revv. There's so much more coming on the channel. It's insane. I'm having to write everything down to keep track of it all, so I hope you stick around for all the cool stuff to come. See you all in the next video. Goodbye. Hey everyone, that might be the end of the video, but if you fancy carrying on this conversation, we have a Discord server, link is in the description. We're also on Patreon, which is something you can really help us with. We also are on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at Hot Pole Studios. See you there.